Hello, welcome to this module on AI and AI literacy definitions. In this module, we will discuss the following: the definition of machine learning, definition of large language models, artificial intelligence, AI literacy, and Aaron's reading list. So in order to understand artificial intelligence, we have to understand machine learning. Machine learning is a field of study within artificial intelligence which is concerned with the development and study of statistical algorithms that can learn from data and generalize to unseen data and thus perform tasks without explicit instructions. Machine learning is an algorithm which is fed data by a computer and again uses those statistical techniques to help it learn how to get progressively better at a task without necessarily having been programmed for that task. These algorithms use historical data to input to predict output values. To that end, machine learning consists of supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is where the expected output for the input is known, thanks to labeled data sets, and unsupervised learning is where the expected outputs are unknown due to the use of unlabeled data sets. A large language model is a computational model which is notable for its ability to achieve general-purpose language generation, as well as other natural language processing tasks. Based on language models, large language models acquire these abilities by learning statistical relationships, again from vast amounts of text, during a computationally intensive self-supervised and semi-supervised training process. Large language models can be used for text generation, which is a form of generative AI by taking an input text and repeatedly predicting the next token or word. So examples of large language models include OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google Gemini. Deep learning is a type of machine learning that runs inputs through what is described as a biologically inspired neural network architecture. These neural networks contain a number of hidden layers through which the data is processed and allows the machine to go deep in its learning while making connections and weighting input for the best results. These large language models are a type of deep learning. So many of us, when we think of artificial intelligence, we think of something like Data from Star Trek, an android or cyborg that is able to understand and make decisions based on the context around it. However, we are now nowhere near this yet. Some people say that we have strong AI now, which is something that can learn and make changes. Although I would argue that we're still relying on those changes to be input by humans. Weak AI is considered something like task-oriented, which would be like Siri or autocorrect or Google Translate, or that predictive text models that you use in something like Grammarly or on your phone. So generative artificial intelligence, a little bit of a wrap up here, is a large language model that is trained on a large amount of text and data and generates statistically probable text or images. This means that it can hallucinate, i.e. make up wrong information. Being that it's trained on data which is gathered through the internet, including Wikipedia, public forums, Twitter, Reddit, code documents, etc., this means that something like ChatGPT could make up lots and lots of information because it's only repeating back to you and generating statistically probable text. As we'll discuss in another module, this also means that they are not search engines and they are not searching for the best answer. Again, these things are being processed in quote-unquote neural networks where they're being trained. So we hope that they're giving us the correct information, but they could be and most often are wrong. So a GPT model is a generative pre-trained transformer, which is a type of large language model and prominent framework for generative artificial intelligence. So it's an artificial neural network, and that is used within the natural language processing tasks. Side note here on neural networks, this term is a misnomer. These networks are layers of data. They do not work like the human brain, no matter how many times computer scientists use the term. Computers themselves still lack context, and the human brain is far more complex than layers and layers of data. So moving on here to AI literacy definitions. Long and Magerko in 2020 set out with a competency document that describes the competencies that enable individuals to critically evaluate AI technologies, communicate and collaborate effectively with AI, and use AI as a tool online, at home, and in the workplace. This article is linked in this week's module notes. According to myself here, the AI literacy is the ability to do these following things, and probably a few others. But basically, it is to understand the definitions of AI, be able to effectively prompt and critically evaluate AI-generated information. We also want to critically evaluate the tools themselves and question the design and implementation of these tools. We have to understand that data processing, and computing is not a neutral process. We want to discern the benefits and challenges inherent in this technology and contextualize the tools within their current societal uses. This could be good or bad. We also want to recognize that there are privacy and bias issues inherent in this technology across all kinds of sectors. I base a lot of this off of a lot of reading I've done over the past several years. This includes books like Artificial Unintelligence and Against Techno-Ableism, both of which I highly recommend. In order to critically evaluate this information and AI itself, we have to understand that there are different ways of looking at it, and to understand that there are different ways of approaching it as well. We have to know that technology is not always the solution, and the belief that it is an algorithmic sexism, which is inherent in the technology being developed. Meredith Broussard points this out in her book, Artificial Unintelligence, and this book is written for non-computer scientists. Ashley Hsu describes techno-ableism as something that people do and use when they are trying to develop new tech or new technology, and they say it's for the good of disabled people. So she mentions that disability is often appealed to as a justification for this technological development and as a moral imperative toward investment in technological research. And this is techno-ableism. Lastly, I'll point out that there is information here from Ruha Benjamin. Her book, Race After Technology, defines the new Jim Code. This is also a really great book. The new Jim Code is the employment of new technologies that reflect and reproduce existing inequities, but are promoted and perceived as being more objective or progressive than the discriminatory systems of a previous era. We will discuss this more in a video on AI algorithm. We will discuss this more in a video on AI and algorithmic bias. In her notes, she mentions that this is based on Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow, as well as the book Algorithms of Oppression by Sophia Noble, and Meredith Broussard's Technochauvinism, as well as other related concepts. Here's a full recommended book list of critical and interesting information here on using algorithms. I will recommend the last one here. There are several, but this one, called Unmasking AI by Joy Bolam-Weedy, which came out in 2023, is written for non-computer scientists and describes her experiences as a computer scientist at MIT trying to get a camera to recognize her, and she had to wear a white mask because the camera itself could not see her black face. For more information on this and other algorithmic biases, please see this week's reading list.